Hey guys, so because this one is going to be on our hands a lot, we're going to start with just like a little bit of a warm up on those wrists a little bit. I would normally spend a lot more time here, but like I said before, we get right into it, we go, and we move quick. So for this one, we're going to clean the floor. We're going to do some sliders. So grab some towels on the floor and we're going to get right moving. So first one is mountain climbers. So just pulling up and in. Now we want to be sure that with mountain climbers, your thumbs are still right in line with the nipple line, just like the push-ups, pressing through the shoulder blades. So we push and we're using actually our serratus anterior to help assist getting right around that rib cage and then using the core to align that rib cage up in toward that pelvis, and everything gets into good alignment using more of the core rather than the quads, because many people usually burn out on the quads prior to their abs working, which it should be a little bit more into the abdominals. Okay, then we're going to flip over, putting this right into the feet, and apology for the construction going on above us. We're just gonna have to do with it. So lifting it up, squeezing, palms turning out, using those external rotators up top, sliding out as far as you can, and then sliding back in. So you're only gonna go out as far as you can, keeping your glutes off the floor the entire time, and then pulling it in. If that is too much, just do single leg, out and in, out and in. Okay? Pulling it in and out, just like that. Or using both at the same time to pull it out, pulling it in. The entire time, keeping those abs and core on nice and tight so that you don't lose the work from here to here. This all gets to work as one. Okay, now we're going to jog it out. So this one looks a little funny sometimes, but you're going to be out to the side and then switch. So you actually get a good rotation through those obliques, using that line all the way from the foot to the opposite shoulder, and run. So the way to keep the heart rate really up and elevated for this one is to stay low. So you stay as low to the ground as you can, kind of pulling that belly button up and in toward that rib cage and coming and running it out. The reason we pull the belly button up and in is it turns on more of the lower transverse abdominis muscle and even works up into the pelvic floor as you step, 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 step. Okay? So it becomes really good, pretty functional for that body. Next, we're going to go into a forearm plank, so getting off those wrists a bit. Over into a plank, out, and squeeze it in. Squeeze the glutes the entire time, squeeze. And squeeze, squeeze, okay? So really using your inner thighs. If that is too hard, coming onto the hands, it just elevates you a little bit more so that your chest is a little bit higher off of the ground and you're not having to work as hard to fight gravity. If you need to, if that is still too hard, come onto your knees, come back, squeeze the glutes, and pulling it in just like this. Totally fine. Remember, you start wherever you are in your movement. No judgment. It's your own workout for your own body. Okay? Next, we're going right back to our mountain climbers. So hands on the front here, pressing strong into those shoulders, because when we don't press into your shoulders, your shoulder blades end up coming off the spine, and it's really hard to pull the knees in. You end up, of course, pulling from that hip flexor, which gets into the low back. So to prevent that from happening, we're going to press up from those shoulder blades and then running it in and out just like that. Breathing, pulling it in and out. Apologies for the banging upstairs. I think they're laying new floor or something. Something's happening. Okay, then we're going to flip it on over. So putting your feet right onto your sliders, lying on your back. Palms open, shoulder blades open, squeeze the rib cage down over that pelvis again, sliding it out, sliding it in. Out, squeeze from the glutes, press down through the heels, sliding it in. So you should really get a really good hamstring workout here, glute workout. At the same time, we're working our rotator cuff by just pressing and opening through the back. And we're working the core by keeping that rib cage down and locked into our pelvis that entire time. Again, reminding the body, reminding the brain where it needs to be, where it's a more efficient and effective place to be rather than standing in anterior pelvic tilt. And then your breath, your body, you move through this and it all gets used to using it a lot more. So, squatting low, belly button up and in, jogging it out. So again, use those arms, get a little bit of rotation. We make it even more functional through the body when we rotate through that upper chest at the same time at the opposite leg goes out and in. Okay, you should feel a little bit of your lateral glutes working here because you're pressing out into the floor. You might feel a little bit of inner thighs as you pull in and stabilize. You might feel a little bit of obliques as you twist out, and the lower you go, the harder it is. Okay, next one, coming right down onto that plank, forearms or hands, remember, whatever one works best for your body. Coming out, squeezing your glutes, pulling it in, squeezing nice and tight, pulling those towels, sliders, whatever it is, really close and in. Now, we want to make sure in a plank, we are biasing a little bit more into a posterior pelvic tilt. What that does is it gets out of the low back at all. So instead of being here, we're gonna pull all the way into the core. We squeeze the glutes, pull the pelvic floor up and in, and now we teach the glutes, the core, and the pelvic floor and the breath how to work as one, okay? Those are three things that usually get separated a lot of the times, where it's like, why are we separating that? That's what gets to work together. So we help stabilize the spine as a whole, stabilize our hips, get out of knee pain and back pain especially, okay? Whoops, last round. Sliders, mountain climbers, woo. Out and in. Pressing, as I push out, I'm squeezing my glute, I'm pulling from my core. So one knee in pulls from my core, 1 foot out pushes from my glute. This also teaches the body a proper running pattern, because as I strike the ground when I run, I want to use my glute and my foot, and then I want to use my core rather than just my hip flexor. Will your hip flexor be working? Of course, it's going to be working. But we don't want it to over-dominate. And a lot of times I hear of complaints, how do I stretch out my hip flexor? Well, it's really not even just how do I stretch out my hip flexor. That could feel good in the moment. But then how do you make it functional? Whoops, lost a slider. So that you don't have to just keep stretching it out, but you actually get to work it properly. So you reteach the body, again, how to program. Rib cage down, right on top of that pelvis. Whoop. A little harder without the hands. And then you pull it right back in. Again, palms up, turning those thumbs out, working more into the back of the shoulders. So again, keeping that alignment, strengthening all the way up into your shoulders properly rather than your chest. When you turn the palms down, it tends to round in the shoulders, internal rotation, chest dominance. That's what we're trying to get out of. Trying to break those bad patterns, okay? Then getting nice and low here and jogging it out. Last one, jog it out. There's so much you can do at home without needing equipment, without needing a bunch of stuff. Even if you get crazy sounds from construction around you, you can always continue to work at home, to elevate that heart rate, to maintain strength, and to work properly. So it's all about how are you going to commit into your own body on a daily basis, and what are you really focusing in on? It's just about learning. It's all about growing and increasing our own awareness into our body. Last one for the plank here, down onto the elbows or hands, holding it out, squeezing it in. And remember, guys, you can always repeat this again, so you make it a 20-minute HIIT workout rather than just a 10. Whew. pulling that belly button up and in, squeezing those inner thighs, squeezing those glutes. Breathe. Breathing here, squeezing. Almost done. Pressing through those shoulder blades still. Oh, amazing. Good job. Now we're coming right back into core exercises. So we're gonna start like we did on day one in a quadruped position. Okay, thank you. Jace. Okay, so starting in a quadruped position, we're gonna start with those toes tucked under. So again, if you need to find middle between both of them, pull it in, shoulder blades squeeze, so turning on those lats, rib cage pulling down, and thinking of squeezing hip bone to hip bone, so we pull that low transverse abdominis, which is like your core set muscle, up and tight, and pulling that pelvic floor, hovering the legs. This time we're gonna add in what is called kind of compression core exercises. So we are going to round in the back a bit, and that's totally fine. We don't have to maintain neutral all the time because we don't maintain neutral when we move on a daily basis, okay? So just pulling one knee up toward your elbow and coming right to that quadruped. Pulling it up, coming back, up, back, up, back, round. Try to pull that knee all the way up to that elbow and back. One more, up and back. Now we're gonna go straight into a plank. So if you need to, stay in that quadruped position. Not a bad place to start, okay guys? So in a full plank, we're gonna do it very similar. So we're gonna pull up and back, pull up, try to pause, and back. Now we're gonna cross it, pull across, and back, pull across, and back. Whew. Make sure that every time you have your hands on the floor, you're pressing your fingertips into the ground. So if we're just hanging into our wrist, into our palm, of course it's gonna add a little bit more compression. But when you're able to press through your fingertips, you actually get out of your wrist a little bit more. You push into the ground, lifting in the upper chest as well, which it really aids in that core work, working more efficiently and more effectively. Okay, now we're gonna take that right knee up to the elbow, down to the wrist, across to the opposite wrist, up to the elbow, and back. Again, down, across, up, back. One more time, down, across, up, back. Whew. Okay, now we're gonna take the other side. Elbow, wrist, wrist, elbow, elbow, wrist, across, up. One more, across, up. Really getting into that compression. But now we're not just compressing in one direction, we're compressing in all four directions and working your end range hip flexion range of motion as well. So getting an added mobility in there. And also for your toes, so everything works. Okay, now we're gonna do opposite. So from wrist, elbow, elbow to wrist. So flipping it back around 3 times, up, up. Whew. Other side. So from wrist to elbow now, across and down. Wrist, elbow, across, down. Last one, wrist, elbow, across, down. Whew. So that you can repeat as many times as you want. I'm showing you how to go each direction one time, well, 3 on each, okay? But you can always repeat multiple sets of those. Now we're gonna add a little bit more compression. So from here, I'm gonna press through my shoulders, push over my wrists, over my wrists, over my wrist, pulling from that belly button, and then walking it back out. We're gonna do that 3 times. Pushing down, pulling that belly button up, up, up as high as you can, and then walking it back down. One more, pushing down, walking it right back out, and then reversing it, pushing onto those feet. And remember, we're not just walking through those hands, we're actually pulling from that belly button. Pull that belly button up, 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 and then walking it back out. Last one, pull that belly button up, 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 as high as you can, and then roll it up one vertebrae at a time. Woo, nice and slow. Amazing job. Okay, so all of those core exercises, even the HIIT workouts, you can repeat as many times as you feel like you want to get an even bigger workout into your body. But we just did everything without even meaning to get mobility. A lot of those positions end in range and range of motion, increasing that strength and stability. So. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you're enjoying it. Don't forget to like and comment below to let me know what you think, and subscribe so you don't miss any in the future.